The selection questions hover over Collingwood's, with Bobby Hill appearing on the outer, while Jeremy Howe is here as he strives to return.
Few know the brutal reality of preliminary finals better than Patrick Dangerfield. The Cat skipper is with us for Players' Night.
And what's next for Tex? Taylor Walker has his exit meeting with the Crows without resolution, whether his storied career will go on.
We've talked about is step into it, embrace all of it.
Get in the room and fix it.
It's unedifying for a senior coach to do that.
Err on the side of caution with the brain. Take the man off.
They played the best footy I've ever seen at the start of the season, and if you'd said Brisbane lift the cup, I would have said, of course they do.
It's the stuff that legends are made of.
What is holding the ball? I don't think I could answer it clearly right now.
I could do something wrong, and I need to go, and the board sacks me.
The fans love it, and with no fans, no 360, right?
We knew that they would be, and already, Gaz, the preliminary finals are sold out.
Yes, the hottest ticket in town. Who's going to get a bigger crowd? Friday night, Hawthorn and Geelong, or Saturday twilight, Collingwood and
It'll be a close run thing. It'll be determined by the MCC walk-ups. And everyone I've heard has said, I'm going to both.
Yeah,
if you've got rights, you'd go to both.
Strong MCC representation on Friday night, I'm thinking.
Yep.
And then the Magpies at the Lion. I don't know who's going to be. We'll get 90,000+, which is going to be unbelievable. So bring it on, Gerard. I can't wait.
Bring it on. As one of the privileges of being on radio is you live the tension with people while they're in these godforsaken waiting rooms, and they get to the moment of pain and get tipped out and they're back behind 23,000 people. The tension is crippling just watching people text their messages
and this
through.
Great hard-won confidence when you've won that first final and you got the week, you got a bit of a strut, and then you sit back and watch two teams win and they're coming at you. So the confidence just gets tested ever so much for Geelong and Collingwood supporters.
All right, here's what we've got lined up for you tonight. Our players, Patrick Dangerfield and Jeremy Howe. So Jeremy will tell us how he's been going on the training track. Ray Chamberlain, how do you survive a preliminary final as an umpire and fulfil the dream to be there on the day that matters? A bit of real or overreaction from the furnace. And then following us, heavy on the trade period at the moment, the midweek tackle. So much news around Lauren Wood, Josh Barnes and Glenn McFarlane. So you'll be right up to speed by the end of that. Tomorrow night, Adam Simpson and John Longmire, who know these dates ever so well. Dave Hughes is going to be with us and we'll set you up for these two big prelims. Shall we get into it? Top of the agenda, we stay with the footy. How could you not when the blockbuster prelims are this big? And selection becomes more acute now than ever. For Collingwood, the question that has sat for a little while is, would you play Bobby Hill?
I think when push comes to shove and you consider your very best sub, and that's about as far as you can go because he's not ready to play a full game of footy, I think that'll be the question, whether they think that Bobby Hill can give them something. How's he played as a sub before, first and foremost? If he hasn't been in that position where you've had to sit on the pine for 2.5, 3 quarters, has he gone on and switched it on? I think that would be part of the consideration.
So you don't take into account the last 2 months, his behaviour?
That would be assuming that he's put a couple of weeks together. We don't know.
So do you pick him as sub?
No is probably the answer, but you'd be tempted to.
And that's the question that is being grappled with. He played as the sub in round 21 versus the Lions. Prior to that, his last full game was round 15 against St Kilda. So we'll show you some of training today. He's in the white Guernsey, as I think notionally the first choice team in the black Guernseys here. What are you thinking?
He's on the outside for mine. He's on the outside looking in. So, assuming, and we'll find out when Jeremy joins us, that he's fit and comes back in. The one of Parker and Steele, I would imagine, goes back out, and I don't think I'll be taking the risk on both Jeremy and Bobby, which is not to say I'm ruling him out of a grand final if, in fact, they get through this weekend, Gerard. Anything can happen in this preliminary final. But no, one game in that period of time for me is not enough, and the only other spot would be the sub, but I'd be going with the fit and tried and true that got him through in that first week, and I'd be keeping him nice and hungry on the outside.
I still think if you defer to what Craig McRae said a few weeks ago, love and care rather than the high performance, but Bobby had asked him, just give me a glimmer of hope. I think this is what a glimmer of hope looks like. Keep going, keep training, not this week, keep fronting up, see what happens, because if you pick up injuries in a preliminary final and a place opens up and you're a Norm Smith medalist, you just never know.
Yeah, I think if they get through, which is a big if, they've got to beat the Brisbane Lions, then anything can happen in that game. I mean, we know what preliminary finals are like, and if they do pick up an injury somewhere along the way, then I would play him. But right now, go with what you've got. But, we don't know. We'll talk about Tex Walker in a moment. We don't really know what's going on inside and Jeremy will be good to talk to. I mean, if the players might go into bat hard for him, they might be saying to the coach, listen, we support him. I know it's been interrupted, but on the big stage, he gets it done. He'd be a dangerous weapon to have sitting there in the sub-vest.
And then the invidious position has been the 22nd and the 23rd player. And with Collingwood through their selection, you can sort of pick who the 22nd and the 23rd are, can't you?
Yeah, so Will Parker is probably 22 and Rowan Steele's probably 23, and that's the way it played out. Steele was the sub on in that first final, and Parker's become a small defender, and when you look at the opposition, there's plenty of matchups for them. They're very, very well served defensively up in the air. I've said this for a long time, this Collingwood team. I think they're still a little bit susceptible when the ball hits the ground, and you're playing a Brisbane Lions side that's got plenty of those blokes that hoover that footy up at ground level. So I don't know if I'm mucking around with Will Parker.
All right. You mentioned Tex there. So he had his exit interview at the Crows today. There's still an air of uncertainty around the veteran, one of their most celebrated players, as to what happens next. This was Taylor Walker on Triple M today.
You going to get that old rig up for another year or not?
Yeah, I don't know, Roo. I'm still quite emotional about Friday night, to be honest, mate, and, I'm going to sit on it for a little bit. I've got my exit review today, so I'll have a good chat with Nixie and the coaches and Burjo, and, we'll make that decision.
How are you going to make the decision? Have you had to think about who you're going to listen to, or are you just going to listen to yourself, or are you going to go and seek advice from people that you trust? How are you going to make that decision?
It's a good question. Hopefully time might allow me to make that decision.
35 years old, 301 games. He's had his career renaissance, which we have marvelled at along the way. Is this the end of the road?
Well, if he does want to go on, the great news for Taylor Walker is I think he should retire. I say that because I thought Jack Gunston should retire. So I had a look at it, they both kicked 29 goals last year. And now, I thought Jack Gunston was finished. He's kicked 70 goals and is the story of 2025. So, again, this is a really hard one to know and understand. And he played reasonably well in the first final. I think it's time, and I say that with all love for Tex. I'm a big fan. He's had the roller coaster, and I've just been full of admiration for the way he's been able to bounce back in these past 3, 4, 5 years. But he looked a bit weary. And look, when you make these decisions, you go, I could see Tex playing round 1. Yeah, I can. Can I see Tex playing round 23? Can I see Tex playing in the first cutthroat final that they play next year? And it's a long, long season when you're at this age and stage of your career. So, again, we don't know what's happening. I suggest it'd be a great time, but if he plays on, then more power to him. What about you?
The forward craft's your portfolio. So Thilthorpe has become the guy, and now there's the question as to whether Tex's presence impedes Fogarty, who has plateaued. He hasn't come on in the manner that the Crows need him to, and the manner that he looked like he probably would.
Yeah, and whether he can continue. I know it's been hotly debated, playing three of those boys in the front six and defending, and the way the modern game's played. His craft is outstanding, but his body might not be able to keep up with his mind. So I think he understands the game beautifully. He just looked old and tired and, struggled to bend a bit. And then you've got to weigh it up in terms of what the structure looks like going forward. Do you play those 3 blokes in September next year, if you get there? I think that's a big debate as well. So, you throw all that in the melting pot. I think it's a magnificent career that, if it finishes up, we'll all salute and celebrate.
Adam Treloar's got a fresh 1-year deal to go on into his 15th season. He had a hopelessly interrupted run with all the soft tissues this year, played 4 senior games, is played in the VFL at the end, and just trying to make that margin call at the Bulldogs. I suspect this is relatively low risk. Keep him for 1 year, see if the body holds up and if he can be an asset to you, rather than shuffle him off when perhaps he could still be a depth piece for you.
Yeah, a magnificent bonus if he's there in September next year, if the Dogs are there, and his body holds up, then that would suggest that you're going to have... I think when he plays, Adam, when his body's sound enough when he plays, he's of great value. It's just the question of whether or not he can get to the line. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's worth the risk there.
It's probably low dollars at this stage,
I would think,
say as well. So, yeah, just keep him there as depth. Righto, the choice for the furnace was pretty easy at the moment. When you've got a bust-up quite this spectacular between a club and its captain, the war footing has become even more than that with what is floating around publicly and behind the scenes that makes you think Zach Merrett and Essendon are kaput.
Is what Sam Mitchell's doing fair? Reasonable?
Oh, well,
Has it angered you?
I think the world's changing. You know, there'd be a time and a place in which I'd be, you know, pretty disappointed. But the reality is now that the gloves are off and all's fair in love and war, and that's the path they want to go down. Then, you know, we'll play at that game too.
My job is pretty clear. Make Hawthorn win. It's not to make anything else. So as long as I'm within the rules of that, then that's what I'll continue to do.
If there are players at other clubs that want to come to your club, one of the things you need to do before that actually occurs is you've got to have a conversation. And it just has to happen. It just has to happen.
What's happened, those relationships internally can't be repaired. I know if I was a player, you know, an Andrew McGrath or someone like that, I couldn't forgive a player that's been so public about wanting to get out and meeting with other clubs as a captain of the football club and a contracted player.
We all go shock horror, but all of us at some point in time when we've been coaches, we've spoken to guys from other clubs who might want to come to your club.
I think it's now turned into a situation where it's going to be, I think, nigh on impossible for him to come back and play it as a club.
I read the quote somewhere that you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I thought that was reasonably well said.
That is a hot furnace. Real or overreaction out of that. And Whisper's been so good. It's nigh on impossible to see Zach back at Tullamarine.
There's another saying, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, Gerard. Right. We're going to start trotting out these quotes and analogies. There ain't any chance, in my eyes anyway, he's going back. Not what we've seen transpire in the past, I'd say 4 days. You've got players now that are going public and expressing their disappointment. For me, that's the biggest one out of everything that's happened. But now you're getting the backgrounding going on, which is, I think, messy and unseemly. You know, stories now emerging about the way he's treated AFLW. Now, that's a planted story, Gerard. That doesn't make its way into the public domain without someone maliciously, in my minds, wanting to plant that seed, because you're saying that your captain is disrespecting your female football team. That's when it gets real messy. And you know how it works in this business. There are sides being taken, and as I said, the backgrounding of journalists and others and players trotted out to trot the company line. It's just ugly. So he won't, in my mind, he won't be going back to the Essendon Football Club, but I don't think it guarantees that he's going to end up at Hawthorn. That's the way I read it.
Okay, yeah. The character assassination is the worst part of this, and I feel like we saw it last year in part with Christian Petrarca. It seems ramped up numerous folds in this incident. It's clearly hurt Merrett, and totally understandably why he would be hurt by it. That is no way to do business, either the internal side of things, nor really we as a media, I don't think. No. There's no need to tear down a good man because he's at the crossroads about where he wants to play his footy.
It's unseemly. For you, Zach won't be welcome on the Brownlow table.
So I hope that's not true. I hope that's an overreaction. So this is going to be a bitter divorce, and the personalities might get to the point where it's untenable. I sort of love hearing just how ruthless Jordan Lewis is with these things, but you go, this is a moment to mark the year together, and he is the captain. Maybe he'll choose not to go and he might nick off overseas for a little bit while it all takes care of things. But I would hope there's not an edict saying don't come. That would be nasty.
He's got a best and fairest to
navigate one way or another. Essendon should plot a revenge raid.
Immediately, if not before. That's my take on it, Gerard. If they haven't already, they should. They're damn straight they should. It's
start writing up $1 million contracts.
Hey, identify the talent. Where it doesn't matter who it is. You work out who it is, and then you get in contact with that agent and go, bang, here you go. So the worst thing that can happen is that it causes a little bit of disruption in the hen house, or you might even turn the head of someone without knowing. So that's where I'd go. But that's me. You probably wouldn't.
My favourite part of the wash-up to the Silvani episode was the Bulldogs going, all right, we'll offer Cal Wilkie $1.X million.
Exactly.
And away we go.
That's the way it should be done. You'd take Christian Petrarca over Merrett on Merrett?
Yeah, I would. I think this is real. So I've been thinking about this a lot. They're both about to turn 30. Petrarca is a Norm Smith medalist, 4 All-Australians, 2 best and fairest, and finished 3rd in a Brownlow. And Merrett is 6 best and fairest and 3 All-Australians. And Petrarca's best has had him as a top 5 player in the competition. Yep. Merrett has been a top 10, top 20. But Petrarca's best footy has been better than Merrett's best footy. So, separate to the needs of an individual club, put the two up against the wall, I'll take Petrarca for these years of their career.
I think pre this period, yes. Where the game's going, you might go with the better kicker.
Yes. So you have to... What are your most value? I suspect Petrarca's kicking into a more competent forward line in a better team mightn't be quite as big an issue as it looked like. Yep. And there's, along the way there's been a knock on Dangerfield's kicking, but it's never been the number one aspect of his game. The rest of what he does, I think Petrarca has those qualities.
I hope Paddy's watching.
So, yeah, but everyone will make it. But same terms, same tenure, I'll take Petrarca.
That's a good question.
Jai Simpkin might be the tipping point. So the background to this story is Jake Nile today has reported that Simpkin has felt discontent over the limited minutes he's had in the midfield. He has expressed it during the season and he has expressed it forcefully at his exit meeting. It's not so far as requesting a trade. But the kicker here is he's contracted till 2029. He's got 4 years to run on the long-term deal.
Enough's enough on this one. So Jai's the captain of the football club. I don't mind him going in and saying, listen, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. But there's an element of selflessness about this when you take on the captaincy and leadership of your football club and you do it with your eyes wide open, particularly when you sign a contract until the end of 2029. So where's this culture come from now that we go, OK, let's sign long-term. I want a long-term give me the long-term contract. The club says, all right, here. But know that this is you until 2029. Then don't turn around and say, well, I'm not playing enough time in the middle. I want out. No, I'm not playing enough time in the middle. What do I need to do to get back in? Or where else can I help the football club? I signed the long-term contract. I'm the captain of the footy club. I'm going to be here until 2029. Where can I be of best value? What's the manager's role in this? The players, I think, are starting to take liberty. Where's the manager sitting in all this going, hey, long-term means long-term?
No, they don't look at it like that.
Well, they should.
It looks at the moment like we'll get you the long-term contract and if things go awry, we'll bundle you out. We'll blow it up and get out.
Brad Scott said that here on Wednesday night, and maybe they're going to have to learn a real painful lesson, both manager and player. Yeah. Guess what? You ain't going anywhere.
There's a reckoning coming here. You can make the case less and less against trading without consent. Yeah. While this is going on, you can leave essentially without consent of your club during a... Well, it's time to level up the playing field on that. Once you get to X amount of dollars and the average contract clearly crosses that threshold now, it's time to seriously look at trading without consent.
I haven't been a great fan of that, but if they're going to continue to do this, then we've got to open our eyes and ears to it.
Last one on the Tassie front. Here's Bucks last night on Couch.
I had to risk sacrificing an opportunity to coach Melbourne to keep an opportunity to coach Tasmania because the timelines just didn't match up. And Melbourne rightfully made the decision on a coach that absolutely was all in and wanted to do the job, and that was Stephen King. So they've made the very much the right call. I was more attracted to the Tasmanian job than I was to the Melbourne job.
So Tasmania's a better option for Bucks anyway?
Yeah, I think this was always real. Right from the very first day when it was floated and he was interested, he had his head turned by Brendan Gale. The idea of the ground zero build, bringing young men together and taking them on the journey and being the spokesman for a team and a state, that absolutely suits Bucks' demeanour. And I suspect all of this has helped reinvigorate. Yes, he does want to coach again. I hope that meeting went well today. I don't know what the timeline will end up being, but he would be a great first coach for the Devils. I felt that on day one, and I feel it just as strongly now. Our players are about to join us. Geelong captain Patrick Dangerfield and Collingwood veteran Jeremy Howe. They're heading for these preliminary finals Friday night and Saturday in the twilight. Our players take us on the journey through September.
The Turning Point, brought to you by Ashley and Martin.
What makes the prelims so great is just how hard they win, and Patrick Dangerfield learnt this right at the start, first with Adelaide and then against Adelaide. Across a career that has seen 8 preliminary finals, 2 wins have been registered, so that is how hard they are to win. And on the Collingwood side of things, Mason Cox determined one of them for Jeremy Howe. The others have been under a goal. 3 white-knuckle thrillers, a loss to the Giants, a win over Sydney and a win over the Giants. The games that twist you inside out all the way to the final siren, where consequence sits so heavily over the results. Is it the grand final or is it the end? So our preliminary finalists, Geelong and Hawthorn on Friday night, Collingwood and the Brisbane Lions on Saturday. We had our coaches from one side of it, the players are from the other side tonight. Jeremy Howe, great to see you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Patrick Dangerfield. So welcome aboard, Pat.
Thanks, Gerard. Thanks for that vision, Howie, and I really enjoyed some of that stuff. It's great.
So you're the right one to ask how hard they are to win. Cliches are cliches for a reason.
They're bloody hard to win, and you never feel ready for the end, but prelims are especially hard when you know what's at the end of it.
What is it about it that I guess what's at the end of it is the thing that determines your emotional input, and then your close finishes must have been driving you just about over the edge.
Yeah, well, the one with the Giants, literally, I think was a 2019 one. We probably walked out of the blocks and then managed to get ourselves back in the game with plenty of time left, couldn't get over the line.
Was that the one where the ball lived in your forward line for about 20 minutes?
Pretty much, yeah. It was one of those ones, but yeah, incredibly hard, and it's one of those ones where, you know, you're so invested in the game, but it's like there's still, like, as much as you don't want to admit, you've got half an eye on what's to come. And you also know the weight of what comes with both a win and a loss. So, yeah, been fortunate enough to be in 4 prelims, 1, 2, lost 2. Just very stoked to be back in another opportunity.
So in that vision we showed, Pat, was the dangerous tackle last year, which you weren't suspended for. But this is the tyranny of a preliminary final. There's not only the winning and the losing, but there's your own place. Did you have any moments that you can recall in that game going, God, if we win, I wonder how this is going to play out?
No, to be honest, not for a second. Obviously, that's been a rule that's been in place for a while, but I didn't feel at the time it was all that forceful. But it was a momentum changer, that's for sure. But in the moment, it's I suppose playing as an inside mid, you've got less time to sort of set up or reflect during a game compared to Jez, where you see the game in front of you, the blunt instrument that is the inside mid at times. You just sort of, your nose is in the trough and you're just trying to get the ball out.
So when you've had the 4 losses in a row and then you break through in 2020 and then you set up an MCG grand final, what is it actually like when you do have the moment of triumph?
Well, I think Jez covered it well, because you actually know, especially for both of us, you actually know what's on the end of, it's an incredible week, one of the best weeks of your life, and then it can turn into one of the worst days, depending on, the bounce of a ball and what the result is. So that's the agony and ecstasy of sport. That's why we love it so much. But when you do finally, frank your season with an ultimate win, it's, there's nothing more fulfilling.
And the positions in the team are coveted, so you're the fascination and interest given the way that your last outing finished. How have you come through what I'm sure has been a pretty tough and searching couple of weeks?
Yeah, I guess for my personal circumstance, it was, didn't go the way I wanted, especially with the Melbourne game. Was unable to finish another one, which was well documented. But since date of occurrence to where we are sitting right now, it's like it's chalk and cheese. I've had an amazing 3-week period where I've certainly been tested and put through a number of hoops that I've had to jump through, and thankfully everything's been ticked off to this point in time. We've obviously got another session on Thursday where I'll have one element of assessment, no doubt, that Whateley will have installed for me, but all things are looking pretty positive at the moment.
So they're not going to leave anything to chance, given your history, and that's just the stark reality of it. So how searching was the big one, which I think you said was Friday?
Yeah, I guess for me, it was like, Friday with the guys had some match sim that was put in store, and I was like, oh, yes, how good's this? I'm going to get a big part of that. And then Whateley pretty much pulled me aside, high performance manager, goes, I've got something else in store for you. You'll probably get more out of doing more conditioning and footy like 1v1s and that you're going to get out of training. So got put through the ringer. It was actually quite difficult, challenging, because for me, it's equally as important how I pull up and recover to get through, to make sure that I can back it up, and was able to get through. Was pretty stiff and sore for 2 days, but then managed to contribute to training Monday and then again, obviously, today.
So no doubt whatsoever, you put your name up. You've got to get through a couple more sessions, of course, but right now, as we sit here, you're 100% available.
Definitely, yeah. That's where it sits at the moment. So fingers crossed Thursday goes well, and we'll see how we go.
Are you a bit on edge during the game now? So just how exactly did this one happen?
Yeah, I guess it happened a bit earlier. The footage that was presented, the way that I did it, was I'd already been off the ground before then. So I ended up making a spoil on Bailey Fritz from behind and ended up almost splitting my legs like a frog. Sounds funny, but that's literally what happened. So regardless if I was healthy or not, that I had a niggle, I think it was going to go regardless. And that's when I felt the pop, went off, got assessed, tried to get back up and go on. That ball that Braden Maynard kicked me, I didn't really want it because I knew that I was injured already. But yeah, the damage was already done. So managed to have a clean pop of the adductor and managed to get back a significant amount of work. Did you think in the aftermath your season was in jeopardy? Yeah, I guess I got the scan the next morning, and I was sitting there by my phone waiting for the results from the doc, and he pretty much told me that it doesn't look great. And then we're in a position you probably treat it differently if you're in June to September or late August, which we are, and we've had to get aggressive. I've had to push things a lot quicker, and that's in the end, it's actually set me up to be really well and put myself in a great position. Great news for Collingwood fans as well. Patrick, the juices flow a bit more when you sit back last Friday night and you're watching your arch rival Hawthorn go about it and how impressive they were against them, and now this great rivalry is reignited again on the big stage.
Yeah, it is. It's a storied history, isn't it? And they executed extremely well last week. The time they're run, they've got some really impressive players, and they have a game plan that clearly stacks up in finals. So it's going to be a great challenge for our guys, but we feel like we're well placed as well. 2 weeks off. Reece Stanley was the out last week. Are we going to see him? I thought there was zero chance that the big fella would be anywhere close to available, but he did 10Ks last Friday and hit high 20s, and he trained and did everything today. So your guess is as good as mine, but I think he's a chance, which, it speaks to, I think, how professional he is. But he's a bit of a fast healer, so it's a bit of a watch this space for us. And how important was the week off for you in terms of how you feel right now, having had that weekend and the preparation? How's the body? Is it as good as it's felt for a while? Yeah, it's a funny one. I think if you know that you're playing the following week, you're ready for it. Like, you get to the end of the season, and because we have a bye pre-finals now, it just feels like, oh, thank God, I just needed a break. But had it been you're ready for finals, well, it doesn't matter. That's what you got to do. You got to prepare yourself. So it's sort of a unique circumstance where it's okay. We've won. We've executed what we need to do, and then there's the deloading period to just get away from the club for a couple of days to just reset, and then you're sort of slowly progressing that reloading phase. You're not going to play the game in your head before you roll out on Friday night, but you need to execute your training and train with the right intensity and prepare the right way. So we feel like we're well placed.
Bobby Hill is the other intrigue. What do you know as a teammate? Yeah, I guess for me, the most important thing for me was supporting him as a friend first and foremost. The footy stuff it didn't have a massive effect on me. I just made sure that I was constantly checking in. I've got a lot of care for Bobby, and I want the best outcome for him. And if that's playing footy and that's going to keep him the most happy, then albeit. But I firstly support him in his own personal circumstance, and then it was great for him to start drip feeding coming back into the club. And then obviously he's been a hell of a lot more consistent of late, which is really good. He seems to be in a lot better place mentally, which is really important for us. And then, he's obviously been training fully with us and part of the group. So it's good to see that aspect. And then obviously the selection stuff that's where you hand it over to the coaches and the powers to be. But
as a teammate, I think you just got to turn up and be there for him personally, and then I think the rest takes care of itself.
As a leader, if they came to you and said, look, we're tossing this up, would you have any objection to given, and this is a hard one, and I understand it's in-house, but the argument against would be the lack of time played, but also the lack of preparation, given these circumstances?
Yeah, and I think that's where I know the responsibility, you can ask the question, but the responsibility purely comes off the back of high performance in the coaching staff, whether they've seen enough and is there enough evidence to say that you can play. And I know Paddy was chatting on it before, and so was I. These prelim finals are the hardest games to win. So you want to make sure that you've got your most fittest and able guys out there and playing. And to be honest, like I'm not an absolute lock certainty, depending on what the coaches want to do with me. So it's a really difficult circumstance for myself and Bobby, but Bobby's is obviously a lot different. But he's given himself a chance, and I think that's all that he ever wants.
And Pat, on your leadership front, what was the Bailey Smith confrontation with the local female photographer? Was that a moment to intervene as the captain?
No, because I wasn't even aware it was happening. I don't think any of our guys did, to be honest. There was a training session. So, I think there's incidences that happen that, upon reflection, like his time back again. But there's always context to it, and sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not. And clearly he's remorseful and didn't get it totally right. But he's not perfect, and, no one is. So we're not going to, court-martial him to the town square for it.
Do you have a conversation as a leadership group with him?
No, we don't really have a leadership group, Gerard, to be honest. We've got a...
What about just as a captain then?
Yeah, absolutely. And a bit of it is a bit around what Jez said. First and foremost, it's checking in, because the blow-up, particularly around someone who's covered as extensively as what Bailey is, was significant. So it's checking in first and foremost. He doesn't need me to tell him he did the wrong thing. He knew that. So there's a fine balance between you got to be better, the athlete knowing that, and then equipping them the right way to handle it next time, but also not drawing them across the coals for too long. And at some point, you've got to move on and focus on what's next.
Your history with the Lions as well. We talked about Geelong and Hawthorn. You've had great history as well. I mean, this must get you excited again. I mean, your time as a footy player in the AFL is 1, 2, 3 years. You cherish these moments.
Absolutely. I think, there's a period of time where we couldn't beat them, and then we managed to get the wood over them there for quite some time, and then obviously they did a number us on it in the most previous game, and they're entertaining games. And I still even remember so clearly that at half-time of that grand final in 23, I go, this is the most high-end game of footy I've ever been a part of. And they bring the best out in us, and we'd like to think that we have to present to make sure that they bring the best out in them as well. And again, it's going to be, regardless of, I know Lachie Neale is not going to be available, but there's a thirst of players that can get in that midfield and do some damage as well. But it's one that you always look forward to, and Saturday night couldn't come quick enough.
We'll go to some other stuff. Did you watch? Did you sit down and watch it unfold?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I watch it all. I watched every bit of it, to be fair. I was like, as much as the wife doesn't like watching me too much footy, but I was allowed to do that. I think we'll take great evidence out of the way that Geelong played them a few weeks ago. They probably won't take much evidence out of the last time we played Hawthorn, but look, so yeah, it's one that you look forward to. We understand that our footy's going to stack up. I feel like watching that game last against Adelaide was something that was just felt like it was the right game at the right time for us to get us back to where we need, and that's what we're going to require again in the prelim final.
All right, slightly broader, Pat, this generation of player now has the chance at Origin. It's sort of in your hands as a playing cohort. Do you think you can make something of it to make it worthwhile on the AFL calendar and something to cherish and persevere with?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I think there's an appetite from the players' perspective for it. But the challenge is to then, play with that same vigour, intensity, enthusiasm and state pride when the game starts, because without that, it can't continue. And that's always been the best part of State of Origin footy. It is that pride piece. So I think it's on the players that participate. The challenge being when it is. I don't know when the perfect time for State of Origin footy is, but leading into a season, everyone's priority is clearly preparing for their own club. So I think that's the fine balance that we need to strike as players that appear in it. That you've got to put in your all, but you've got a foot in each camp, I think.
Do you think there's plenty of your boys would be available, would be picked, I would imagine. Do you think there's an appetite for it?
Absolutely. I think even seeing, like, you obviously have a personal close attention to your teammates and the ones that it's obviously going to do it. I was fortunate enough to play in the All-Stars game against the Vicks, and, it was unbelievable. I was just struck, literally standing in the middle of the oval looking about who was around. And I understand that I guess where Paddy was going with the pride and the competitiveness, I don't think that was a bit more of a open field, high scoring game. To get the genuine contest into a game, how that looks, I'm not too sure, but I know the fans, and certainly as a player, I'll be tuning in to watching the best of the best go at it. You make yourself available, Patrick, or not?
I think I'll just be back from pre-season or the off-season, Gaz. But yeah, if it means a week off pre-season training, absolutely.
Let me ask you one as the former president of the Players Association. The long-term contracts and the capacity to break them, which we are seeing more and more of, and the latest example may or may not be a player who's still got 4 years to run on the long-term contracts, might be inching to get out. Is this out of whack now, Pat?
Well, when the contract's signed, it's signed off by both player and club, but it's not just players that break these at various stages. I was listening to your commentary before around the no trade clause. There's just not a world that exists that players will ever give up that part of the CBA, that agreement. And I think I get your point around breaking a contract, but one of the unique parts of our game is that it isn't players aren't shopped at large numbers at the end of any season. And that sort of pulls at the fabric of, what everyone refers to and talks about, that mantra of a one club player. And Jez and I have obviously both played for two different clubs. But that's an important part, I think, in society for Australian rules footy fans. And if clubs started to shop players, I think you risk pulling at the fabric of that. And this is going to test everyone, right? This tests Essendon supporters, any player that's brought up around this time, and there's conjecture. There's always passion, and that's the key ingredient to our game. But I think it's on clubs as much as it is as players.
Great to have you both with us. Good luck for what's to come. Pat, we'll see you Friday night.
Thanks, guys.
And Jeremy, good luck in the twilight on Saturday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Jeremy Howe and Patrick Dangerfield bound for preliminary finals. Razor's edge tonight from the umpire's perspective. How do you win your way through a preliminary final and book your place as a grand final umpire? Ray Chamberlain will take us through it next.
You need to calm down. We don't talk to one another like that.
Ray Chamberlain, see you next Tuesday. Preliminary finals are for surviving. That's true for umpires as well as teams. How do you get from the preliminary final into the grand final? Ray Chamberlain did it 3 times, both grand finals of 2010 and again in 2019 to reach the pinnacle moments. Our umpires are on edge. They're on razor's edge. Ray Chamberlain, welcome.
Gerard, Garry,
Razor.
how are we?
Good. All right, so you saw 6 preliminary finals. How do you earn grand final selection?
Yeah, well, these like all the players have been saying and everybody's been commentating, these are the best games of the year, and it's the toughest week. Gerard and I think probably from an umpiring perspective, there are 3 categories of umpiring that I want to talk about tonight. But I think probably the other part to it is being where your feet are is probably the greatest hurdle of all. We're all aspirational. There's only been 60-odd field umpires in the history of the game ever be appointed to a VFL AFL grand final. That's not a lot of people over the journey of 180 years. And so I think it's a real... the importance is to not worry about what could be, but rather just deal with what's in front of you. So, yeah.
So, Razor, I'm not... People think I argue with you for the sake of it. I'm not. But 3, emergency. Do you think that is on the back of... your prelim final performance not being where you needed it to be, or how does that play out?
If I looked back at my prelim performances, I thought in 2 of them I couldn't have been prouder, and then there was another game where I racked up a few too many errors. Right. So a mixed bag, I reckon.
So is that the pressure they carry going into this weekend?
Absolutely, and being able to deal with the extrinsic stuff and understand that it has actually nothing to do with what you're doing, which is core business, which you've undertaken for 6 months. You've performed to a level that's afforded them the faith in you to pick you. Just do what you've always done.
All right, the 3 categories. So the foundation freeze.
Yeah, so core business, we understand that preliminary final, it's contested, there's a lot of pressure on the football, there's less time and space, and so we've got high tackle, we've got push in the back, we've got holding, and that's what happens with more contests for the ball. And what happens is you also have this space between one contest and the next becomes narrower. So it's fundamentally important that we're protecting the ball player, because the spirit of the laws in relation to any of the laws is the player who makes their sole objective the football shall be permitted to do so. So we've got a couple of examples here. In the first example, we make a blue, okay? And so the ball will get spilled in, bang, push in the back, no free kick paid. Now, what you'll notice is, he goes into his back, but by the time that actually happens, the ball's in contest again. And what can happen in a final, Gerard, if you're too wound up, you lack a little bit of composure, your head follows the football and doesn't stay with that tackle and watch it to the end. And that's how we miss a free kick like that. We fast forward another week, we get another opportunity at it, we've got a composed situation and we execute it far better. So in this situation again, contest, bang in the back, and our umpire doesn't move, sees the free kick and awards it. Now, in fairness, the ball's trapped in here, so we don't move our head. But that's a real key area in preliminary final. There's way more of these than you'd see in home and away.
So you expected to get them right?
You must get those.
That's a non-negotiable.
That's bread and butter stuff.
So you miss one of them, you're in a bit of strife.
You don't want to be missing any of those ever, particularly in preliminary final.
All right, so that's the basics, the composed decision-making.
So what can happen when we're watching things is that lots of stuff can appear to maybe going to be happening. Will he go into their back? Is it going to be an arm chop? Will they go high? And because we're wound up, we can be heightened emotively. There's 90,000 at the MCG. It's on like Donkey Kong. You can potentially see something coming and tip into the whistle, but then it doesn't eventuate. And we've got a couple of examples of here where we've gone superbly well. So, bang, throws his head back, Berry, that's never high, and we don't fall in and we don't pay the free kick. It's terrific. The tackle from Houston gets him across the chest. And in that situation, that was our first final. We knew all the narrative and the rhetoric going into that game, the repeat visit. The umpires would have been up and about wanting to be on top of that, and we don't tumble in there. We're composed and we just let the play go unfold. So that's a terrific piece of umpiring. Same here. So this one here, you look at it first, you go, oh, did he chop his arm? If we look here at Meek, is it a spoiling motion? Yes. Does it get to the ball? Yes. Does he catch and drag Pedlar's arm? No, he doesn't. That's play on. And if you see the umpire in the background, he puts his whistle to his mouth, but he's composed enough just to wait and let it unfold, and subsequently we don't tip in and pay an unwarranted free.
So he'll get ticks for that?
Massive ticks for that, because that's, again, composure and just letting things unfold.
So a non-decision is as significant as a decision?
They're all decisions, and ultimately, Garry, what we want our umpires to do is to be comfortable in the environment, and it's rare air.
This one I like because there are 3 possible outcomes here.
Yeah, so, OK, there are, and only 2 of them are OK. So Whateley takes the mark and his momentum takes him forward of the mark. Now, I think Whateley wants to play on, and so does the umpire in this situation. He said, you've elected to go, and as a result, you've been legally tackled. It's considered prior opportunity, so you must successfully handball or kick, which he doesn't do, so he pays holding the ball. The second choice you've got here, Gerard, is when Whateley takes the mark and momentum takes him forward, Smith's got hold of him, you just immediately blow time on, you bring them back, you set the mark up for Brodie to stand, you take Whateley to cross over his mark, blow time back on and away we go. The third outcome can never be OK. That's never 50 metres. Brodie's allowed to defend that because he's ahead of the mark and he doesn't have to give him the turnstile running into goal. So 2 out of 3 would have been fine, and we pulled one of the right reins. So sometimes more than one thing can be true in this game.
All right, and then you need the teamwork under the current system.
Absolutely. Since up until 2017, Gerard, 3 men, and it was that, walked out onto the ground and it was on your own. Right? If you missed a free kick and Garry saw it, you go, well, bad luck, Gerard, that's one for me, mate. And ultimately, that's not what people turn up to observe the game. They're not there looking at the umpires, it's about the players. So the 4 umpires who are charged with the responsibility on either night need to help each other out. You'll see here, player, Broderick, head over the ball, and McCluggage comes in and he's not stationary or near stationary and he makes high contact. That has to be paid as a free. But our umpire who was controlling there's some players in his road and he may or may not see it, or he may have just made a blue. But fortunately, adjacent zone umpire who's got an alternate view does see it, pays the free kick, high contact correctly paid. We've cleaned it up. The game is officiated in the manner which it should, and away we go. So teamwork in these contested and congested situations is vitally important. System is vitally important.
And then in our Curiosity Corner, it plays a role here as well. So this is the long bomb goal where Collins is denied the right to go back and intercept or touch it. Tell me what happens here.
We miss a push in the back free kick. So it's a long kick in, and you'll see here, bang, 2 hands in the back, creates the space, he falls to ground. Now, we can see that from our view and we go, that's an obvious missed free kick. At the top of the screen there, that's one umpire, and if we roll it back to the first angle, you can see it here now, we can see the other umpire who is essentially, through no fault of their own, they're technically in the right spot, but because the players come at a certain angle, he's actually front onto that. So he goes, has he just flopped? Has that ball gone over his head? He's got no context in terms of depth of that ball and the contact. So has he just fumbled and crumbled and looked for free kick, or has he pushed? So the umpire at the top there, he's side on. He can see that, and the creation is bang, hit your whistle, pay the free kick. So system matters, and the team, the two sets of 4, that's their challenge. Support one another for 2 hours.
Very quickly, how much homework are the umpires doing on the way that these 2 matches are going to be played out, do you think? Yeah, to a degree it's important to have a level of information. Ultimately what you want to do is just be a witness and bear witness to what actually happens in front of you. But I don't think it hurts to understand that, OK, this person here's been white hot and this person here's had a great role. Or Brisbane like to pick kicks off and they short
hit the 45.
Uncontested mark, big part of the game. How hard are we going to be on the 15 metres?
Exactly, and the play on call, and don't get caught as an umpire standing in the kicking lane, and all of those sorts of things. They are all fundamental elements to the umpiring performance. Before we go, can I just say one quick thing? Ian Burrows, boundary umpire, 50th final this weekend, breaks the all-time record, and in doing so, breaks the all-time VFL AFL boundary umpire and games umpire. Awesome. Congratulations, Buzz.
Good on you. Ray, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
How to survive the preliminary finals as an umpire. Tomorrow night, Simo and Horse, Adam Simpson and John Longmire, have they seen their share of preliminary finals, both as player and coach? They'll tell us about the nature of the games and the specific matchups. They'll make you smarter every Wednesday.
Rich and rare.
Oh, here's the fact. I'm the winners.
Good to be back in Melbourne playing finals.
Can you beat them?
I'm not saying anything.
See, you've learned.
I'm media trained.
I'm the whiz. I'm the whiz, and nobody beats me.
So I say to my missus all the time, I say, look, we got married recently, we had a kid recently, but this still goes down as the greatest moment in my life.
What are you looking for in this second half?
They got beaten in the first half, Sarah.
So there's 3 cans of Coke.
Yeah.
There's 3 Red Bulls. You have at least 2 to 3 blocks of chocolate. And more often than not, you neck a litre of milk.
Yeah,
this is all sitting in your guts while you're calling a game of footy.
I like to be up. I like the sugar load. I didn't realise I was being filmed here. I did bring something in for you guys, just for the show.
Is that from your personal stash?
That's from my stash.
Did you do Kyle Loman's hair before the game?
No, I think he went to get a haircut yesterday and the hairdresser made a mistake, so it had to all come off.
Yeah, and then I'm just trying to photo a brownie and they've just shaved the thing. What do you reckon, brownie? No hair, absolutely no worries. Gives the poor Ponce a rub.
Give it a try. It's like kissing a peanut.
I tell you what, if you win the flag, I'll get the lines on the side of your head.
Sounds good.
So there's a bit to barrack for there.
They win the flag, Brownie. You're getting KL shaved in your melon.
I do like Nick Watson didn't tip in.
No, he's little, not little brain. His brain was working. If I say this, I'm going to get into trouble. I'll say nothing.
Yes, he was very good. All right, see you tomorrow night.
Yes, indeed.